It's a delight to be with you. Let me first acknowledge my appreciation to also be with Congressman McAdams and enjoy sharing this time with him. Thanks to the organizers of this event. I might just say at the onset, the remarks I share with you today really are a culmination of about 3 years of deep thought on this subject. To be truthful, I'm really a very unlikely speaker at this symposium today. I'm a conservative Republican. My national party doesn't even discuss environment in their platform. My district includes areas that have been dependent on extraction and coal for decades. And it would be fair to wonder why I care about the environment. And I'd like to share that with you today. But before I do, kind of allude to the fact that this question, much like the question of why I even ran for office, is a very, very difficult question to answer. But let me give it my best shot. There's really two main reasons. And the first is the earth is God's creation. And I have a reverence for everything created by God. I've had, like all of you, amazing experiences in the outdoors, scouting experiences and with my family and my wife. I don't talk about it a lot, but every time I have an election, the day of the election, I go up Rock Canyon and find peace and solitude up Rock Canyon. I get my inspiration outdoors, and particularly in the mountains. When I need to seek inspiration, that's where I go. That's why I care about the earth. The second reason is it's the right thing to do. I do honestly believe that I and everybody will be accountable to God for how we care for his creation. I remember when I was a young man, this will sound very strange, but it wasn't really socially unacceptable to litter. And you would see people literally drive down the street, roll down their window. They had to physically roll it down and maybe throw out their McDonald's bag right on the freeway. And there was a pretty intense public awareness campaign. Some of you might remember the Native American Indian standing by the side of the road when a car came by and threw out some trash, and it showed a tear coming out of his eye. And we were taught that was wrong. And I've been taught that taking care of the earth is the right thing to do, and that I have a stewardship with that. Now, what I'd like to spend a few minutes on is what's not on the list. It may surprise you. Notice that I didn't say science was why I care about the earth. Notice I didn't say because I've been shamed into it on the list. And notice that I didn't put on there because it's a crisis. And I want to be careful because I know that's what we're here to talk about today. But to be honest, that's not my motivation. And I think, I don't know, but I suspect if we were to ask all of you, those wouldn't be your reasons either. It's interesting, I've been in DC long enough to know that everything is called a crisis. We're consumed with crisis. Russia is a crisis, COVID's a crisis, China's a crisis, Venezuela is a crisis, justice reform, inequality, Yemen, forest fires, the post office was a crisis, and now the Supreme Court's a crisis. And when everything's a crisis, nothing is a crisis. And I've just found it's not a very motivating thing. Here's an interesting analogy. How many of you that have kids struggle to get them to keep their rooms clean? Now, I had 6 kids, and maybe you all are better than I am, but we struggled with every one of them to keep their rooms cleaned. Believe it or not, I tried science to convince them that they should keep their rooms clean. I could actually show them that they would save time if they put things away to begin with and knew where they were instead of leaving them out. Won't surprise you, that didn't work. I tried shame. You pig, put that away. Won't surprise you, that didn't work. I even tried crisis. No one will marry you. And I told them that over and over, and guess what? None of those things worked for them. COVID's a really good example. We've seen this large spike here in Utah County as the BYU students and UVU students have come into town. And science is clear. If they wear their mask and social distance, they won't get COVID, or at least the odds are dramatically reduced. Well, guess what? They're not doing it. It doesn't motivate them. Sometimes I like to compare the earth to our bodies. Both are God's creations. We have a stewardship over both. We know that God designed both our bodies and the earth to be amazingly resilient. And we have the ability to regenerate and heal ourselves, just like the earth does. But we also know that we have the ability to exceed that capacity to recover. And it's not harmful to see the effects of poor eating on people, but people still do it. Now think long and hard. What motivates people to take better care of their health? How many people who are shamed into or shocked by a doctor who gives them a diagnosis eventually return to their poor eating habits? Matter of fact, I think if you show me any human behavior pattern, I'll bet that every day patience wins over non-patience, rewards win over mandates, and praise over criticism. I have a fun experience with a mayor of Moab, Mayor Emily Newhouse. She introduced herself the other day as a feminist, progressive, liberal environmentalist. Probably hard to find somebody in my district more diametrically opposed to my fundamental political beliefs. But interestingly, every time Emily sees me, she clicks off all the things she's grateful for that I have done with the environment and totally ignores the things she wishes that I would do. I have no doubt her list is much longer of the things that she wishes that I would do. And I find myself, as a result, highly motivated to do things that are important to her. And I just think that's a really, really important concept. Now, let me just talk quickly about some faith-based principles that I think we should apply when it comes to our stewardship over the earth and trying to motivate people to care about the earth. First is acknowledge God's hand in the creation of the earth. That's where my motivation starts. And prepare for a day of accountability on our stewardship of the earth. I believe that there'll be a day of accountability. We'll all have to answer for how I've treated this earth. Another important principle, as I've mentioned, is shame and extremisms don't work. We need to seek broad consensus. I regret that sometimes I can be just a little overly obsessive with my diet and exercise. And like many, I've tried a number of different approaches to good health. When I was young, my mom suggested I drink 8 glasses of salt water when I had the flu. And it may surprise you, it didn't work very well. People used to, in the 50s, actually eat tapeworms, feeling like that they would consume calories in their stomach. And I know people that have eaten cotton balls. None of these extremes worked. When I was a high schooler in Russell, I was encouraged to purge my stomach after eating. And we know that these extremes don't work. And unfortunately, our approach to earth stewardship is also dominated by extremes, ideas that take the head off to fix the headache. And if not careful, we have extremes on both sides, both those who refuse to acknowledge that we have a problem and those who want to solve the problem with extreme ideas. Another concept would be that we need to look for moments of celebration. Part of this culture of shame means that we don't stop and acknowledge when we have done things well. Every aspect of human behavior tells us that we are more motivated when we're celebrated for doing the right things. And finally, the last thing is that we need to seek and follow God's revelation on how to care for this earth. I really appreciate our time together, and I'm looking forward to our questions. And at this point, some of the favorite words in Congress to be heard are, I yield my time, and turn the time over to Congressman Ben McAdams.